Today we're driving the 2024 Porsche Cayenne E Hybrid. This is the plug-in hybrid Porsche Cayenne. This base model starts at $99,000. With all the options, this is $113 grand. It's powered by a 3-liter turbocharged V6 and an electric motor. It has a 25.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The EPA rates the electric-only driving range at 29 miles, but I found this week that it can actually go much farther in city environments, probably close to 40, 45 miles. So it's got a pretty nice setup for a plug-in hybrid. It's fast, it's quiet, it's refined, it's comfortable, and it looks good. It is heavy though, about 5,400 pounds in this configuration probably. Don't have an exact number on that curb weight, but this is also offered as the E-Hybrid Turbo with the V8. This is the V6 though. Combined power output between the V6 and the electric motor, which powers all 4 wheels by the way, which is very nice, is 463 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. So we've got some power here to play with. The Cayenne has always been one of my favorite SUVs. It's kind of that Goldilocks perfect size, great packaging, enough room in the back for kids, people, stuff. It's very well appointed, really nice leathers, really nice materials. We have a Bose sound system in this Cayenne that sounds fantastic. Let's hop inside, we'll start it up, and we'll walk you guys around this, talk about what it's been like to live with this week. We see a few changes here. We've got a redesigned interior space, new center stack, climate control buttons, infotainment, different fenders, front and rear fascias, larger diameter tires, a revised rear steer system, among a bunch of other changes. We kind of glossed over those in our Cayenne S review, but mostly what you need to know is this is a better, nicer, more refined, more modern Porsche Cayenne. We get wireless CarPlay. I like these new climate controls down here. They're easy to use. You can change your temperature very quickly. You've got physical buttons, heated and ventilated seats, which you can turn on simultaneously. Very cool. This Cayenne is supposed to come standard with a heated steering wheel, but the button where it should be isn't there. And for all I can find in this car, I've spent the whole week in it, I can't find a heated steering wheel on this. You can even use voice command to turn it on supposedly, but nothing turns on. For $99,000, I'm not sure if that's just an omission with this particular car or something that wasn't available at the time, or if it's actually a feature that isn't here. It was listed on the build sheet, but it's just kind of missing, and I've missed it this week because it's been kind of chilly here in October in Michigan, so not really sure what's going on with that. Wouldn't like to think a $99,000 Porsche doesn't have a heated steering wheel standard. We have a very nice infotainment system. It's been mostly pretty good to live with this week. A little bit slow and laggy on startup, but once you give it some time, it seems to speed up. We have wireless CarPlay. Connection's been pretty good with that. A nice looking screen, beautiful graphics, and pretty straightforward layout with utilizing all the applications and everything. My only major complaint with this is that at night, it is just very difficult to dim all the displays and gauges for night driving. What happened to just having a little dimmer switch over here to the left and just hitting that once and dimming everything down in the cabin to very dark when you're driving at night? Instead, I have to go through a bunch of menus and settings to dim all of my displays. I can go here. There's 2 ways to do this. You go here through display settings. You can individually dim the central display and the instrument cluster, and that's about 12 clicks to do all that, all said and done. Or you can go into vehicle and then hit settings down here, go into vehicle settings and interior lights and then brightness, and then adjust your brightness for everything all at once. That's a lot of steps to do every time you drive this at night, because otherwise the displays are pretty bright. They look great during the day, but the automatic dimming feature still doesn't quite adjust them as low as I would like for night driving. Otherwise, this interior is very nicely appointed. Everything looks and feels very high quality. You've got your traditional Cayenne grab handles right here. Engine start button over here to the left. Let's walk you guys around the rest of this. Air suspension in this lowers very low and raises pretty high for some off-road capability, but also comfort access getting in and out of the vehicle. Lots of room in the back. I had both my kids' car seats back here earlier this week. One is rear-facing, one is forward-facing, and lots of space back here. Again, kind of the perfectly sized SUV. Heated seats back here as well. Kind of a creaky driver's seat this week. Actually, same with the passenger seat. A little bit disappointed with the creaks and rattles in this particular pressed Cayenne, though who knows who's been sitting in it and what it's been up to over the last 1,700 miles. Tailgate lifts up nice and quickly. We've got a charger here. This does have a really nice, fast onboard charger. You can charge this with level 2 in about 2.5 hours to a full battery. A little bit of a raise in the floor, but really you're not losing out on that much cargo space with this being a plug-in hybrid and having a rather large battery pack, which is nice. You can raise and lower the vehicle right there with a couple buttons. Lock and close the tailgate, or just close the tailgate and go about your business. Here's your trailer hitch. Looks good. This can tow up to 7,700 pounds, and it looks like it also has a feature where you wave your foot underneath and the tailgate opens. I like the look of these 20-inch aero design wheels, and because we have a larger tire diameter, we actually get a decent amount of sidewall with this Cayenne. Two 95/45 R20s in the rear with Hankook Ventus S1 Evo Z tires. And what do we have up front? Two 55/55 R20. Nice and meaty. Love to see that. Good looking car, the new Cayenne. Subtle improvements, mild changes, but still a very nice looking and attractive SUV, especially in white. You know, if something looks good in white, it's going to look good in a lot of other colors, and it's just overall a good design. Here's your charge port on the driver's side. Easy to access. You just press this button right there to unlock, and you can set a timer as well in the settings. All right, enough walking around and standing. Let's go drive this and see what it's like on the road. A couple more notes on this interior. You've got some drive modes. Looks like we have to restart our engine here. There we go. Gravel, off-road. That raises our air suspension quite a bit. E-Power, which is how this defaults when you have a fully charged battery. And that's pretty much just an electrically driven Cayenne for as long as your battery will go. Decent amount of power with that system. Again, it drives all four wheels. You can switch to hybrid, where the engine will kick on with a little bit more throttle, but you can get around town and up to highway speeds in this Cayenne on electric-only power. And I believe the top speed is around 85 miles an hour, or somewhere around there for the electric driving. You can also go into sport mode. That'll lower the chassis. Sport Plus will lower you even more. Engine will kick on. And then in hybrid mode, you have a few options between e-charge and e-hold. So e-charge charges the battery efficiently at higher speeds. So if you're driving on the highway and you want the battery to be charged for city driving later, you can do that. Or you can hold the battery charge for use later on. And you can select those with this little menu that pops up very quickly right here when you change drive modes. There is also a hybrid sport response mode button, which we'll press right there and use that later on. Cruise control down here. Lane centering, lane keep assist, distance control, all easy to use. And then we also get 3 seat memory settings, which is very nice. Button right there to pop that fuel filler cap, open the tailgate, roll down the windows, auto up and down windows at all 4 corners, as you would expect in a Porsche. We've got a big sunshade right here too. Love that. Nice big visors. They do not slide, however, so a bit of a gap there. And then a secondary visor right there. There's your mirror. There's your creaky driver's seat. I'm sure we'll hear that a little bit on this drive. Reverse and 360 cams are pretty nice to see. We've got a good high resolution 360 cam. Reverse camera isn't the highest quality, especially on the edges, but it shows you what you need to see. It does rotate when you give it some steering lock, which is very cool. Something we first saw with some Audi products. And if you go forward, the forward cam rotates as well, so you kind of see around corners with it, which is very clever. Press the P button to put it to park. We've got paddle shifters behind the wheel. Let's start off in e-power mode and just drive this around like an EV. You've got a little throttle meter here that shows you how much acceleration you can get out of your EV-only driving mode. This makes a whooshing noise at lower speeds in EV mode. Kind of cool. It's not the smoothest start off the line. You have to really modulate your throttle inputs with this Cayenne around town. Brake pedal, not the best from Porsche. It's kind of mushy, it's kind of vague, and a little bit difficult to modulate. Very quiet, very relaxing, very serene, very comfortable. Nice high driving position. You get really low in this seat too. The adjustability in a Porsche cabin is always second to none. Lots of control with the steering wheel here too. Steering is very heavy in this e-hybrid. A little bit heavier than it was in the Cayenne S. You have a few different displays as well. You can choose from this 3-pod gauge setup to this 5-pod, showing you lots of different information. We'll give it some power here. And you can see we get decent acceleration out of this electric motor. A little bit of regen under braking there. We'll leave it in e-power, and then we'll do some spirited driving once we find some better driving roads. You do feel some gear changes from this 8-speed transmission, and a little bit of electric motor noise. Alright, tackling a corner. We are just in normal mode. You can choose between Sport and Sport Plus in e-power mode. Good mechanical grip. And if you do want extra power out of this, you can give it full throttle and the engine will kick on. You're not locked into electric driving only in e-power mode. But once you're settled down, engine will turn right off again and you are electric only. Set the cruise control. That's easy to change. Following distance, all right down there. Even engage our lane keep assist, which does just seem to kind of bounce us between the lines. That's okay. That's all easy to turn on and off. You don't have to go into any menus to disable that stuff. Comfortable at speed, quiet, ride is nice. Going into hybrid mode, we'll kick the engine on periodically. Which is very quiet, surprisingly quiet for a Cayenne. I was expecting a little bit more drama here, but maybe in the S, that's where that comes in. Really nice seamless transition between internal combustion engine power and battery power and vice versa. Off throttle, you'll see the engine turn off quite a bit. On throttle, it'll kick back on. It all works pretty well. It doesn't seem to be as refined of a hybrid system as what we get in the BMW X5 and maybe even the Volvo XC60, XC90. But it's pretty darn good. It works. It gets the job done. It's comfortable. It's fun to drive. You do feel some of the heft in this Cayenne e-hybrid, and it is a heavy SUV. Let's see what this does in sport mode. Paddle shifters feel really nice. Good resistance. If we go into Sport Plus, we get even better response. It's quick, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it has almost 500 horsepower quick. 463, 479. And I think part of that is just the weight. go into hybrid mode. We'll leave our dampers in normal. The adaptive suspension here is very nice. Never really uncomfortable in any of the modes. This is very good air suspension. Engine kicking on there. All this stuff really just works very well in the background. It does its thing. It's nice to have a plug-in hybrid with this type of electric-only driving range. You can pretty much use this exclusively as an EV, unless if you're doing longer trips. This week, in this, I've been averaging over 100 miles to the gallon, easily, no problem. Mostly just because I haven't needed to use the engine. Pretty rough start there. I would like Porsche to refine this plug-in hybrid drivetrain just a little bit more. It doesn't quite feel up to par to some of the competition. It's a little bit clunky, it's a little bit rough. It needs to be smoothed out some. I just think it lacks some of that Porsche magic, that Porsche perfection. Porsche's so good at tuning their vehicles and just making them drive darn near perfect. And this feels like it's just lacking a little bit of refinement. Put us into Sport Plus mode. Do a quick launch here. Dragging shifts there. Kind of a lurch between gears, but very quick, up to 70 miles an hour. We'll leave it at Sport Plus around this entrance ramp, see what it does around a corner. And maybe even hit Sport Response. Good chassis control, good dynamics. The Cayenne is always one of the best handling SUVs out there. In Sport Plus, lots of decel off throttle, utilizing all that regen in the system. In hybrid mode and e-power mode, you tend to just coast. And the brake pedal gives you all the regen. You can get a pretty good sense of what this Cayenne is like to drive just by watching the rev counter and the gauge cluster. See my throttle inputs right there, my brake inputs right there. That's why we do POV, so you guys can see what it's like to drive a car. Pretty quiet at speed, not a lot of wind noise. Tires, for being, looks like a little bit more of a performance-oriented tire compound. These Hancooks, tires are pretty quiet. Barely any NVH over these patches on the highway. Potholes seem pretty quiet. Good sidewall. While we're just cruising here, let's show you these different gauge clusters. So here's your 3-pod. You go in and can select different pages here between each of these. Tire pressures, boost. And then we go back, We can see some more gauge cluster options like a map, a full page map, a minimalist display. I kind of like this full 5-pod gauge though. That looks really good. What's top speed in EV mode? Looks like 84 miles an hour. All right, so how can we sum up the 2024 Porsche Cayenne E Hybrid? Well, very nice car to live with, beautifully appointed, very comfortable, very luxurious. Doesn't drive as well as some of the other Cayennes that I've experienced. All the creaks and rattles are a bit of a disappointment. So kind of a mixed bag here. We've got some good, we've got some bad. I think as a daily driver, this might be the best Cayenne just because you can use it as an EV, but it has the range of an internal combustion engine vehicle. On paper, it's kind of perfect. It does it all. It's fun to drive. It's quick. It just doesn't quite deliver that perfect Porsche experience that I got out of the V8 Cayenne that we had, the Cayenne S, a few months ago. And for the money, for $100,000, with this base model, you're getting a lot of car here. 113 with options. This is an amazing interior. It looks fantastic. It mostly drives great, but it's kind of a tall ask for some things that don't quite feel 100% on par with that Porsche quality that we're used to. I am curious to drive the Cayenne E-Hybrid Turbo to see if pairing this powertrain with the V8 changes some things up. It might. I think that the extra driving range you get out of this 25.9 kilowatt hour battery pack is a really big sell here for this new Cayenne. And it's kind of that perfect amount of electric driving range. You know, the battery's not too big, but also you could go most places. You could do probably 90 to 95% of your driving in this car, depending on what you do and who you are and where you live, on electricity. And that's pretty neat. So in that sense, this makes it a pretty compelling option in the Cayenne lineup. If you prioritize driving feel, driving enjoyment, I would probably look at a Cayenne S. You're going to see quite a big hit in fuel economy, but it is going to be a more enjoyable driving experience. All right, we'll leave it there. Porsche Cayenne E-Hybrid. First time I've been behind the wheel of one of these. I didn't drive a previous generation, so I can't really compare the changes between that and this, but only what I've driven from BMW, from Volvo, from some of the other competitors. So anyway, that's the review on the Porsche Cayenne E-Hybrid. Thank you so much for watching. That'll be it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Stay tuned for more videos on this on the Winding Road YouTube channel. We'll post a night drive, a day drive. Substitute TOFR will probably film both of those. Cool. That's it for this one.